Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today, hosted by our partners, Magnolia. I'm Andre. I'll be your host for today. I'm the head of marketing at Digitalia. It's fantastic. I already know that some of you already joined a couple minutes ahead of time, so it must be a really interesting topic. Please use the chat on the right side to say hello and let us know where you're from. It would be a great thing to have an understanding where everybody is joining. Today, we're going to dive deep into the world of HCP portals, and we'll explore the current challenges. We'll take a look at how an HCP portal should look like. And of course, we'll uncover some actionable strategies regarding how to boost discoverability on SEO, so on search engines, and how to use the trending AI search that is happening right now. So, hello, I see people from the UK, from Basel, from United States. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. So, a bit of housekeeping before moving to the main topic of today. Firstly, we're recording the webinar, so you'll be getting it via email next Monday. Stay tuned for that. Secondly, you'll find additional resources on the right tab in the docs section. You'll find today's slides, any other related webinars and resources, and the latest HCP portal audit done in partnership with the Magnolia, where we analyzed US and European portals to uncover what's where we are and what's next. Lastly, you can use the contact us button at the top if you want to get in touch with Magnolia or any of the speakers today. One last thing, there's also a Q&A tab. Please feel free to use it and ask your questions anytime during the webinar. We will have a 10 minutes time slot at the end where the speakers will address them. So be sure to ask any curiosities there. Before inviting the speakers to the stage, I'd like to draw attention to the polls tab. You'll find there our first poll where we are asking you to share the biggest challenges you have when it comes to engaging HCPs through digital channels. Please take a moment and take a look, and we'll analyze them a bit later. While you're doing that, I'm delighted to invite our expert panel to join me today on stage. So please, Alex and Tom, join me, and thank you for agreeing to share from your expertise. I'll let you share a few words about yourself and your expertise. Alex, can you go first?
Yep. Hey everyone. Great to be here. Great to see also some familiar names like Senia. Hi as well, and thank you for the people from the US that joined us such early in the morning for this webinar. Me and Tom, we don't feel the pressure at all, but we really hope to be at your level of expectations. A few words about Digitalia. We are a software development agency specialized in building HCP portals and different AI and digital projects especially for pharma and the healthcare space. We've been doing this in a while, and we are working with big names and like top 10 names and also some medium-sized ones. So delighted to share today expectations from both perspectives and also from what I've learned from the others. And Tom, passing on to you.
Yeah, hi Andre, hi Alex, and welcome everybody. I'm Tom Vorton. I am CEO of Varn Health. We're a specialist SEO, data, and an increasingly AI search agency. I've actually been working in healthcare marketing and SEO for over 15 years now. And I'm actually quite a regular speaker at national SEO conferences, and specifically from the HCP portal point of view. We have a lot of experience of large site migration and optimization of them, including projects with Roche and Kyowa Kirin. So look forward to chatting with you, Alex, and sharing some thoughts.
That's awesome. Thank you for joining us today. Let's see how we're looking on the poll result side before moving to to the first topic. Okay, so it seems like the top of the challenge when it comes to engaging ACPs is lack of personalized content. So I think here Tom might have some insights in terms of getting that content to as many ACPs as possible. Then we have low discoverability. Again, Tom, you're on top of this. Compliance and data security, a great topic for Alex. And the last two, if I'm not mistaken, difficult navigation and for data and tool integration. Thank you for sharing. I think the topics we'll have prepared for you will answer some of those the questions and some of those address some of those challenges. Alex, you're the first here on my list. I know you attended Reuters in Barcelona recently, and you came across some great hands-on insights regarding the needs and challenges of ACPs, and I think our audience would be really interested to hear about them. Could you share the data and add in your thoughts?
Yes, thank you for this. Indeed, for today, what I prepared, and Tom will probably be able to share the same. We are trying today to evaluate the portals from three perspectives. First of all, what's currently out there, what is in the space, and what Pharma is currently providing. Then I was lucky enough to attend a presentation in Reuters, where there were shared a few details about what the ACP expects, and there was a study that was conducting 2022 and 2024. So the data is freshly to today's world. We will also deep dive a bit into the challenges that pharma companies are having with these portals and meeting the needs of the HCPs, and hopefully we will have time to also go a bit into the what the best would look like out there. So maybe let's start with the data and what's presented at Reuters. So over here in the docs area, you'll also find the tabs. You'll also find the presentation in case you are on different devices and you don't see this in relatively good way. Okay. So there were a few questions in there, and you can see data from 2022 and 2024. The first topic was, what are the top challenges facing by ACP in regards with the medical education? The biggest problem, that is not probably a surprise, is that they are very busy persons in there, and they don't have enough time to cover medical education as well, especially on the oncology phase. And at the same time, content is spread across multiple platforms, multiple providers, so it's very hard for them to find that. Then, which resources they find the most challenging to find is treatment guidelines. So on this platform, it's very hard for them to find this. And on the next slide, you would also see that this is also the educational resource that the ACPs would use most often, like treatment guidelines in there, which again makes sense because besides medical education, the other traffic driver to these portals is finding information about the prescription. So yes, then in terms of where do they, how do they search, or where do they go to learn about the new therapy area? Usually they go to the medical journals and different society websites, and usually they use the search engine for that. The main reason was that, as you can see on the right part, pharmaceutical websites are outdated, so they rarely go there. Regarding the search engine, because you are working directly in this space, Tom, what have you seen in the market?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one and interested to see the poll earlier, actually. I think the two areas we found, one is the personalized content area, and there's two parts of that. One of when they're on the HCP, how can you personalize the content to keep people there? And a lot of that's to do with the data and reviewing the data and having that automatically feed into the CMS so that it connects the personalized data as the user journey flows. The second part, I think, is the finding it. There's been a quite a fast evolution of how HCPs expect to discover content, or this is what we found. And in fact, recently I was reading some research by the National Library of Medicine in the USA, and their research showed that 88.5% of HCPs search for medical information daily, or at least several times a week, often focusing on highly specific queries. So it's around drug interactions or adverse events. But we're finding that as a challenge, keeping up to date with how people's how they find information changes quickly.
Thank you. Um, and there is one last slide about the expectation, which is the format that they would prefer in there. So there is a rising trend in terms of the podcast and webinars. They had high popularity during the pandemic times in 2020. After that, they got a bit fatigued about digital, and right now it seems that it's coming back in trends. And it's a normal way, because think about, like, doctors are also the same with us. They may be driving to the office, uh, hospital, or to the clinic, and while we are stuck in traffic, it's a good use of your time to listen to a podcast. And then what role does social media play in the medical education? It's an increasing trend in there when going to stay updated with that. However, there are still people that are not trusting the traditional social media like Twitter and X, in terms of going there for medical education, and they would prefer more the medical journals, or the expert's opinion, like from their peers, or to go to Medscape or sell more to the dedicated social media for the HCPs. So yeah, that was the finding. One more thing that is not shown case here, because it's a trending topic and probably people are a bit fatigued about this. But yes, there was a increasing trend in terms of using ChatGPT and different GPT engine in order to finding medical information right now. And if we'll have time, we'll also explain a bit how those engines are working and why it's still important to have your website in there. But yeah, thank you, Andre.
Thank you, Alex, as well. I think it's clear that given ECP expectations, there's a lot of room for improvement if Pharma wants to meet them. Um, Now, I'm curious about the challenges from the other side, so from the Pharma perspective. What do you feel, and what do you think are the challenges in engaging ACPs through portals? Alex, what's your take on this?
Um, yes, regarding this, we actually did also extensive research in terms of what is Pharma offering right now, and based on also the talks that we are having. So there is a lack in what the ACPs are expecting, and the Pharma portals are going in there, as it has been seen why they are not going into those portals. It's not that they don't see value; it's hard for them to find the right content, so that's why they go to the industry agnostic portals in there. And in the audit we performed, it was very hard to access the portals from different devices. It was very hard to find different information. There was missing a bit of the visibility area. So yeah, that's where the gap is between what Forma is providing and what the ACPs would expect. Now, this brings a lot of opportunities in there into improving these portals, and it's also very, as a pharma company, especially for the medium-sized one, it's very hard to provide or to meet all the ACT expectations. Think like you will have to have millions and millions in budget and a lot of teams in there to meet their expectations. So it's very important for them to define what would be the purpose and which area do they cover and which area they don't cover in terms of these portals. Some of the most challenging situations right now for the European portals, there is a lot of regulation in terms of gating the content. UK, it's one market where it's more facile to do that. Like it's not so hard to do that. But in markets like Germany or France, you need to have the gated content, and usually that reduces the activation of the HCP. A lot of them, they don't want to spend the time to create an account. Then the content as the HCPs are also stipulated, it's sometimes outdated in there. So they like usually they prefer not to go if they see outdated content because they want latest trends and information in the market. And yeah, another consequence of the gated content and the outdated content is the fact that the traffic is well on that, like compared to the different other platforms that they use. So that's one point. Like some of the most common things. Obviously, there are others as well, but I'm also curious about your opinion, Tom.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, isn't it, with gated content, but at the same time, AI trying to learn and gain content and being part of that conversation. And that's the challenge we've had of optimizing clients' portals so that they can feed into AI overviews, which is the bit that sort of shows above the Google search results, but also pull into Search GPT when HCPs are searching. How can you realistically feed into that if the content's gated? And the other thing we're noticing is HCPs do expect that sort of fast, frictionless access to trusted information, as you said, Alex, rather than logging in a lot to all sorts of areas. Specifically from a discoverability point of view, what we found works really well is, and Google talks about this a lot, but it works well for AI, is what's called EEAT, which is establishing sort of authority. So it's experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And that's really prevalent with pharma content, which is why some recent research we did, actually nearly 50% of all healthcare and pharma related searches have the AI overview, which ideally would then feed people to a portal. Whereas in retail, it's like 3% of search results put in AI. So this is where it's key to how do you map what you're building to the content you're creating. And we were discussing, Alex, about the importance, obviously, of what's called the schema markup and the coding behind the site, which often is overlooked when it's a massive website project and people are just distracted with getting signed off for content. There's that really important bit of how you communicate with Google in a fast, efficient way so that the AI bots and Google can crawl your site, which again is tricky when it's gated. And what we found is there's sort of a hybrid version where there's some content you can let Google see, but it's still gated, or creating sort of summary pages to explain what's wrong the gated content, either to encourage people to log in, but also to encourage Google to rank the gated content, which is really important. When you're doing the portals, Alex, do you find, is there a challenge with getting the actual content live and people managing the content and updating it, or does that normally work quite smoothly on your system?
There is a challenge, especially the MLR process is quite different in this organization. In the big ones, it's a more like the MLR process is very important in there. We don't want to have different content. Like think about maybe putting the dosage administration for a medicine in there, and if you are getting that wrong, people can die for that. So it's this part is very important. So because it's such important in there, it takes a bit of time as well to review and make sure, because we have 3, 4, 5 rounds of reviews just to make sure that everything it's approved in there. So this has a big impact also on the updating that content. So probably that's what Pharma they have the challenge in there with getting content updated on these platforms. Luckily, there are right now a couple of AI-driven tools that is facilitating into um, um, the MLR approval process. Like for
Yeah.
example, Source Health, it's one of the startup that is actively doing actively working with pharma companies to speed up this process and makes things a bit easier in there. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because actually, one point you make there about the compliance, what we found worked well was when the SEO was brought in right at the beginning of the HCP Portal project, so that you can sort of map almost like search phrases in clusters that HCPs are using to then feed that into the content ideation so that it's not, so it doesn't have to slow down the compliance process. But obviously the content's created in the compliant, but also search engine friendly way at the same time. That's not to say you can't retrospectively optimize, but that can be a lot of extra work, like you say, with going through compliance. And often we'll deliver sort of audits, but the sooner that the search can get involved in understanding what HCPs are searching, the more helpful it is, we found, with developing content.
Awesome. Thank you both of you for your knowledge sharing. We talked about a lot about challenges and stoppers and blockers, but I'm curious to know, Alex, since you've built many portals in the past, you and your team, can you share a best case scenario or an example to actually maybe get inspiration on how we can overcome the challenges and how that might look like?
Hmm. Yes, thank you. Actually, I have a slide prepared for today as well regarding the best practices.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and again, I can remember you in case you don't see the slide. You can also access the docs part on the right side of the platform, and you can have it from you can see it from there as well. So this is just one example. A bit of a spoiler: we are also working with the Coloria team to build something even better than what we have today, like to provide two different options that solve the same problem. So this is company HCP Portal. It's a company because it's not a brand HCP Portal. It has therapeutic areas. It has all the therapeutic areas with all the brands under the same roof. So here there are two options. Either you have it like this, either you have per brand, and both options are okay depending on what business objectives you set up in there. This is just one example. It has some personalization as well over here, like Dr. Heisenberg. When he comes over here, he can see the specific topics that he was previously interested in based on the CDP. It's connected with the CDP and so on. He can access the dashboard with everything that he performed in the past. He can access indications based on what he maybe, if he's an oncologist, for example, he can access different indication where we can go a bit more in depth into what he is looking for. Different courses, usually in some companies that we are working with, these are also CME accredited, so they get also CME points in there. And there are also digital tools like a patient information configurator or something like this. So if you're interested to see it more, I believe there is an option at the end to register for a short demo, or you can add me on LinkedIn and write me a short message and I can show you this. And at the same time, again, we are working on a different version, which is a bit more oriented into improving the conversion rate optimization. And we are working with this with Magnolia as well to build that option. It's still early phases. We have a short MVP, a short pilot, a small pilot project. So happy if you reach out, happy to show you that as well. But
Yeah,
please keep in mind this deal. open or
Yeah, as Alex mentioned, there's a new poll opened for those of you who want to get a better look. We couldn't go through the entire demo that Alex has, so that's just a screen to get a better understanding of how a personalized portal can look like. So please take a moment to respond. I think we'll keep it open until the end, so you have time to make up your mind. Okay, so we've covered challenges, we've covered briefly best case scenario. As you mentioned, Alex, once people get to the portal, it's very important to um, do conversion optimization to be able to achieve your goals. But I want to take a step back and actually think about how can we get ACPs to visit the portal. Of course, ACO is a great part of that. And right now, there's a increasing popularity in doing AI searches. Tom, I know you worked on creating a few essential steps that Pharma can take to prepare their content for SEO and for the future in which obviously AI is involved. So please share a few insights that our audience can use.
Yeah, no, will do. Thanks, Andre. I think what have we just got a few minutes for that? Is that best just to keep that quick? It might, yeah. So I think it probably summarised, and we were chatting about, weren't we, beforehand, sort of the 6 steps, I guess you might call it, um, to share there. I think the key is to audit your portal. And in fact, I noticed one of the questions someone's asked, can gated content be seen by AI tools? That's a really key question because it depends, unfortunately, is the answer. Because AI and how the results work, it's how the bot works isn't dissimilar to how the Google bot crawls your website. So you do need to audit what's indexable and what's findable and what's being missed or what's accidentally been left open. So you can look at your server logs and check that. But yeah, definitely need to audit your portal to find out what are you allowing, what are you not allowing, what are you allowed to allow, or what would you like to allow. That's a key step. I think there's also quite a lot around creating. It's always high quality content, but I mean high quality from a Google perspective. So again, how you structure your content really impacts how it performs. So we've been working with a lot of companies about how, yeah, if it's a question-based page, how you structure it. And this comes, we've done this with Alex. There's the code bit, so Google understands is it an FAQ page, but it's also how you physically write your content. So we've done quite a lot of training with writers and editors about how you structure and break up content, so AI and SEO bots could understand it. That's a key part. I mentioned earlier when we were chatting about trust and building trust. Again, we know the content is trustworthy, but how do we help the search engines and AI understand it? And that often is about including sort of author bios with the qualifications, what they've done, so it links back to a person, especially where the way AI is going with healthcare. It's trying to understand who's written it and then therefore is it authoritative? Because some of the AI results aren't as accurate as they could be, although they're getting better. So they're trying to reference clinical guidelines, but what are the qualifiers? Who are the people? That's a key area we've noticed. And using data to improve it. It's scary how few people look at the performance metrics of which content's performing well, and therefore what do they need to create more of, or how can they optimize it because it's not performing as well as they can. I don't know if you want me to run through a sort of a quick the slides of I sent over because we were chatting about the six
Yeah.
just quick. Is that helpful? I don't know if Alex, you want to add anything before I do that, or the things you've
no,
seen?
no. Maybe we can have this slide and we can discuss on
Yeah.
if it's better written. Sure.
So and I've mentioned audit already. Obviously, that's the key thing. People are wondering if they're turning up in AI or in search, but they're not properly understanding how search engines and AI are understanding their sites. That's key. Um, Creating high quality, we've called them teaser pages for gated content. Now, there's hundreds of factors that influence how you rank, and there's obviously regulatory restrictions of what can rank and what can be open. So the key part there is creating content that you know is okay, because actually it's the same challenge for your competitors. So with SEO, you've got hundreds of things to do, but actually you've only actually got to be better than the competition. So a lot of that is understanding what the competition are doing and how can we be better optimized than them and create content that we are allowed to display. Structuring content then is key, and then part of that is how I was explaining earlier, the how you physically write it. And Alex can share more about how they run through their planning of their development, and what's called markup for AI engines and for search. There's the build authority, which I've mentioned. Simplifying access is key, and I don't know, there's compliance issues there, but still forms are overcomplicated and laborious to fill in. And I think the last one for me is analyzing performance, really. Again, people make something live, it nearly breaks them getting the portal live often. But then it's like, that's just the beginning. It's how do you evolve with the HCPs? Is their search habits involved? And in fact, Alex, on that, do you have how does it work when you've done a portal live? Do you have like an evolution of the portal that really you review all the time based on the data?
Yeah. So it's a good point out there, Tom. There, there was a lot of evolution. For example, we started to work with a client that it's very well seen in terms of innovation, and they've been today I also read a report that they've been recognized as one of the most innovative companies in the industry. So we started to work with them. We built a portal since 2019, and we constantly improve that. What we also noticed recently, like and we noticed this on Digitalia website as well, which was a very nice surprise for us. The way the GPT engines work is that they crawl the internet or the websites, and after that they take snippets out of that and they give you the answer based on the data in there. So it's very important to have, as I mentioned over here at the end top tip, to have an SEO audit for that. And it's very important the way that you structure the content and from a technical point of view, how do you make the website as easy to crawl as possible from this GPT, so that you can so that they can pull the data out of your your website, and after that to reference you in there as well. So we've seen the journey with this client and also with ours, like from in terms of how was it to to make the website in such a way that it can be found in the AI search engines. And also a very nice point that you touched today, and it's also something that a friend of mine, Philip, was mentioning. Sometimes just building the portal, it's not enough. It's it's just one part of it. The second part of bringing the HCPs in there, by building the portal, that doesn't necessarily mean that they will come to the portal. The second part is also
Agreed.
the
Yeah.
tactics, how you go in there. So thank you also for sharing the tactics.
Yeah, well, that's the key thing. We've worked with some amazing portals that have amazing content, but if no one can find them, you'll get people that will go there because they know the brand. But then there's a whole, there's a massive area to drive traffic from sort of what I'd class as non-brand traffic, and then you get companies, that we won't name any, but that aren't pharma companies, but are marketing companies that charge a lot of money to create microsites, which pharma companies can do themselves if they optimize the portal correctly.
Thank you, both of you, for outlining these strategies. I think it's time to move over to the Q&A. I think there's one question who is left unanswered, and if we have time, I might have one for you as well. But let's get to the one. I think, Tom, can you address the question from Edelgard? Sorry if I didn't pronounce the name correctly. So, are ECP starting to use AI tools for their research open evidence? If you care to answer.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. There's no specific research that we've found about that. Anecdotally, HCPs that we work with are, but they're sort of early adopters of technology. So I think definitely, like I said, there's the data showing from the from the National Library of Medicine in the USA, about 88% of HCPs searching for AI, or searching for answers on Google, which includes AI. And we know HCPs that we use to test some of our systems, and they are using it. So I think it's going that way, and it's not going away, is it? That's the reality. I think
Yeah.
it's too early to say it's been used enough, but the reality is, like when the steam engine was invented, it's not going away.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Do you have anything to add here, or?
Yeah, maybe what it's important to know, it's about knowing your audience. So obviously, for example, in Romania, there would be like more traditional ICPs, like doctors that have, I don't know, 60 years, and they are very well known in the market. Probably they will not be so very digital savvy in there, so they will still use the traditional way of doing. But there are doctors, Gen I, millennials, that are in the rising trend. And I was actually reading a European Union report that it has the millennials have increased, I believe, with 15% from one year to another. So they are the market is shifting right now. The new generation is coming of the ACPs. So you need to adapt your digital to the new generation as well. And the new generation are the people going to ChatGPT asking for even some, like I had to get for my general physician, and the other day when she is using ChatGPT, she's not fully trusting them, but she is using them as a guidance, and she's making part of the entire thing, especially when, I don't know, maybe there is a process that has been changed in terms of how do you fill some paperwork. She is asking that, and after that, she's going to check on the official government. How do you need to fill that thing? So I believe, to answer the question, the trend is rising, especially for the millennials one, and they are using this for process optimization and also um, for doing day-to-day jobs.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's a really good point, actually, Alex. I was just thinking sometimes with AI, we can get really excited about it, but the reality is websites we've worked on that are well optimized for search do well in AI. And it is that actually there's probably quicker wins to be had at just working with your data team if you have one, or work with the data team if you don't.
Alex, maybe you can cover the question from Tatiana regarding what's your expertise or your advice on making web intercepts and surveys on web portals more efficient? Uh, my guess is that this is related to getting ACPs to convert on the portal. So, any thoughts on this?
I don't know exactly, Tatiana. Maybe you can cover a bit with a bit more details. I give us a bit more background. But if I consider this with the traffic to the portals, um, there is no one size fits all. But some tactics that we've seen working in there, for example, having resource that is doing a job for the doctor. One thing we've seen in there, it was like when what we also developed, it was like a patient resource generator. Like, think about oncologists, they have a lot of visits from the patient. It's a topic, it's a disease that is not so, like when people hear the news that they have cancer, it's very emotionally driven. They are thinking about what is happening with their family, how much time they have to live, so they are not paying attention to the doctor. So the patient resource generator we created, it's a tool that it provides the doctor like basically a personalized medical information for the um, for the disease that he has, and after that it shares with him in a PDF format or in a personalized link that he can take a look at home once he is more emotionally stable. So that's one way that you can drive traffic that's used by the pharma company. It solves the problem of the doctor because he can see more patients and optimize the time spent with a patient. And after that, if you incorporate this into the portal, it basically you are getting that traffic in there as well. Paid traffic, it's also Well, like I did a bit of market research for one of our clients recently, and there was a big company in there in top 10 that had a lot of traffic increased from from December until April. It was paid, some of it, but they also redesigned a bit the website. It did some improvements that are ranking them into the SEO, into the search engines. So I hope I covered a few tactics that could have answered the question.
Yeah, okay, there's the one last question from Tatiana as well about asking insights on how to get feedback on the relevance of your web portals for HCP. So, any experience, maybe Alex, on implementing feedback features?
Usually, yes, there is a in the industry it's called like voice of the customer. So these are, for example, surveys built on Medallia or different other technology. The technology stack doesn't really matter. So these are usually feedback things like surveys that you are sending via email after that to get is think about a webinar. You run a webinar, after that you send a survey to evaluate the performance of it and put a topic in there to ask feedback from the ACP. Some other things is like if you go on the blog, you can also evaluate like on the traditional blogs. Let's say if you go for I don't know, searching um, for a vacation, you can you've seen like this rating system with stars.
Yes.
The same be implemented in the pharma space as well in the blogs. In terms of how do you get feedback in terms of if the content was relevant or not. There is also some hidden metrics that you can do. For example, if you have a chatbot in there, you can monitor in a compliant way, like without identifying the HCPs, what questions that they put in there, or what was the most used flow, and you can optimize your digital strategy based on that. Or it's also based on the number of the attendees or how much time did they spend on a certain page. That can give you also some insights in terms of what are the best performing and why, because you can have some heat maps in there and you can see exactly where do they spend their time.
Awesome. That's really helpful, I hope. So we're at the end of the webinar. We covered a lot of ground today. So thank you for the speakers for joining me today. Don't forget to use the docs tab to grab the resources while you can. If you have further questions, please use the contact us button at the top of the page. If you want to get in touch with any of the speakers or Magnolia to get more insights. If you didn't have the chance to answer the latest poll regarding a demo walkthrough over an HCP portal, please do that before we wrap up. And a final reminder that the recording will be available to you on Monday, and you can share it and watch it back whenever you can. Thank you for your time, and we hope you found this webinar informative and valuable. And thanks again for Magnolia for hosting and for the speakers for joining and sharing their expertise. See you on the next one. Thank you.
Thank you. See you. Bye bye.
Bye.